Cyber Threat Brief for March 25, 2026. 2 Russian cybercriminals sentenced to prison for ransomware enabling. A massive supply chain attack weaponizes Trivy and Checkmark security tools, and tax-themed malvertising delivers EDR-killing malware using a Huawei driver. Plus, Microsoft 365 identities under sustained phishing assault via railway. COM infrastructure, and the FCC bans all foreign-made routers over supply chain risks. Here's the full breakdown of today's top security stories. Daily Cybersecurity Brief. March 25, 2026. Next section, Critical Alerts. Trivy and Checkmark's GitHub Actions Supply Chain Compromise. CVE 2026-33634. Team PCP Threat Actors compromised Aquasecurity's Trivy vulnerability scanner and Checkmark security tools through stolen CI/CD credentials. The attackers force-pushed 76 of 77 version tags in Trivy action, and all 7 tags in setup Trivy to malicious commits containing credential-stealing malware. A weaponized Trivy binary, v0.69. 4, was published to GitHub releases and container registries. The malware harvests SSH keys, cloud credentials, Oz, Azure, GCP, Kubernetes configs, database credentials, and cryptocurrency wallets from CI runner memory. Stolen data is exfiltrated to vendor-specific typesquat domains, checkmarks.zone, as encrypted archives. CVE 2026-33634 has a CVSS, the Common Vulnerability Scoring System, score of 9. 4. The attack also compromised 2 Checkmark's GitHub Actions and VS Code extensions via the CX Plugins Releases service account. The malware checks for cloud provider credentials before fetching a next stage payload and installing persistence via systemd or launched. Action. Audit all Trivy and Checkmark's GitHub Actions in CI/CD pipelines. Check for unexpected git tag updates between March 1924. Review runner logs for curl traffic to checkmarks.zone or Trivy domains. Rotate all credentials exposed to workflows using these actions. Check for unauthorized docs.tpcp or tpcp docs repositories created with GitHub token. Revoke GitHub personal access tokens with write access to affected repositories. Scan for hidden WASP or similar Linux persistence mechanisms if compromise is suspected. Sources: Microsoft security blog The Hacker News. Next section, Ransomware and Extortion. Russian access broker sentenced for Yanluoing ransomware Alexei Volkov, 26, was sentenced to 81 months in federal prison for operating as an initial access broker for the Yanluoing ransomware group. Between July 2021 and November 2022, Volkov breached at least 8 U.S. companies and sold network access to ransomware operators. Victims paid ransoms ranging from $300,000 to $15 million. Volkov received compensation through flat fees or percentage cuts of ransom payments, earning approximately $1.5 million. The FBI recovered chat logs, stolen data, and network credentials from a seized server, and traced Volkov through Apple iCloud data, cryptocurrency exchanges, and social media accounts linked to his Russian passport. Evidence suggests potential ties to the Lockbit ransomware operation through recovered screenshots. The attacks resulted in over $9 million in confirmed losses and more than $24 million in intended losses. Volkov must pay full restitution to victims and forfeit equipment used in the crimes. Action. Review network access controls and monitor for unusual outbound connections from internal systems. Implement network segmentation to limit lateral movement if initial access occurs. Deploy EDR solutions that detect credential dumping and unusual authentication patterns. Monitor for signs of reconnaissance activity such as network scans, Active Directory enumeration, or data staging. This case highlights the specialized ransomware economy where initial access is commoditized and sold to separate extortion crews. Sources: Bleeping Computer, The Register, Cyberscoop, Security Week. Russian botnet manager, sentenced for BitPaymer ransomware attacks Ilya Angelov, 40, received a 2-year prison sentence for managing a phishing botnet used in BitPaymer ransomware attacks against 72 U.S. companies. Angelov was a co-leader of the Mario Kart cybercrime gang, also tracked as TA-551, Shathek, Gold Cabin, which operated between 2017 and 2021. The operation sent 700,000 spam emails daily and infected approximately 3,000 computers per day at peak activity. The gang sold access to infected devices to ransomware-as-a-service operations, resulting in over $14 million in extortion payments from BitPaymer attacks between August 2018 and December 2019. The Iced ID cybercrime gang paid the group another $1 million for bot access between late 2019 and August 2021. TA-551 also collaborated with the TrickBot gang to deploy Conti ransomware and partnered in the Lockian ransomware operation, helping affiliates drop Pro Lock, Egregor, and Doppel-Paymer ransomware on Qbot-infected devices. Action: block email attachments from unknown senders and deploy anti-phishing solutions that detect malicious links and attachments. Monitor for unusual increases in outbound SMTP traffic that could indicate botnet activity. Review historical security logs for signs of TA-551 activity, including Qbot/CACbot infections or unusual PowerShell executions from email attachments. Implement application whitelisting to prevent unauthorized executables from running. Sources: Bleeping Computer. Next section, IOCs Detection. Tax-themed malvertising campaign delivers EDR-killing malware. A large-scale malvertising campaign, active since January 2026, targets users searching for tax forms like W-2 tax form or W-9 tax forms 2026 through Google Ads. Malicious sponsored results direct victims to fake sites protected by its spect and just cloak it cloaking services to evade detection. The campaign delivers weaponized ConnectWise Screen Connect installers that drop HW OddKiller, an EDR-killing tool using the Bring Your Own Vulnerable Driver (BYOVD) technique with a legitimate Huawei audio driver, HW Audio OS2AC. SIS. The malware terminates processes for Microsoft Defender, Kaspersky, and Sentinel-1 from kernel mode. Attackers also deploy Fleet Deck Agent (RMM) remote monitoring and management for redundant access. The multi-stage crypter evades detection by allocating 2 GB of memory filled with zeros to exhaust antivirus engines. Huntress identified over 60 malicious Screen Connect sessions tied to the campaign. Post-compromise activity includes credential dumping from LSAS and network reconnaissance with NetExec, consistent with pre-ransomware or initial access broker tactics. Action: block domains under bringattacks.com and monitor for Screen Connect installers from untrusted sources. Hunt for HW Audio OS2AC. SIS driver loads and unusual memory allocation patterns, 2 GB plus allocations. Review Screen Connect and Fleet Deck Agent deployments for unauthorized instances. Monitor for LSAS memory access and credential dumping tools like Mimikatz or NetExec. Educate users about verifying tax form sources and avoiding sponsored search results during tax season. Sources: The Hacker News. Next section, Business and Infrastructure Threats. Railway. ComPA abused for Microsoft 365 token replay. Attacks. Huntress reports an active device code phishing campaign targeting Microsoft 365 identities across more than 340 organizations in the US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and Germany. The campaign began February 19, 2026, and accelerated dramatically starting March 2. Attackers are attributed to the Evil Tokens phishing-as-a-service platform, first advertised February 16, 2026. The platform provides AI-powered tools for bypassing email filtering, tailoring phishing lures, and wire fraud targeting. No two phishing lures are identical, with unprecedented variance that evades email filtering through personalization at scale. Threat actors weaponize Railway, a platform-as-a-service built for rapid deployment, to spin up on-demand credential harvesting infrastructure. Evil Tokens offers 3 products: B2B Sender, Office 365 Capture Link, and SMTP Sender, with features including AI workflows, open redirect links to vulnerable domains, and Cloudflare workers for credential theft. The platform has spun up 24/7 support and customer feedback channels. Huntress blocked 113 attempted compromises as of March 23, in addition to approximately 350 earlier compromises. Action: block authentication attempts originating from Railway. Infrastructure. Review Azure Active Directory sign-in logs for device code authentication flows and suspicious authentication patterns from cloud hosting providers. Enable conditional access policies requiring compliant devices or trusted locations. Monitor for unusual OAuth application consent requests and token replay indicators. Train users to recognize device code phishing requests to visit Microsoft. com/devicelogin and enter a code. Deploy email filtering rules that detect phishing lures with high linguistic variance. Sources: Huntress blog. FCC bans all foreign-made routers over supply chain risks. The Federal Communications Commission issued a sweeping ban on all new foreign-manufactured consumer routers, citing unacceptable cyber and national security risks. The ban applies to all consumer-grade routers produced in foreign countries, unless granted conditional approval by the Department of War or Department of Homeland Security. The approved list currently includes only drone systems and software-defined radios from C-Fly Aviation, Mobilicom, Scout Die, and Verge Aero. Starlink routers are exempt as they are manufactured in Texas. The FCC cited exploitation of router vulnerabilities by state and non-state actors including Volt Typhoon, Flax Typhoon, Salt Typhoon, and Covert Network 1658, Quad 7. Botnets used by Chinese threat actor Storm 940. Routers have been used for network surveillance, data exfiltration, malware delivery, password spraying, and as proxies for espionage against critical infrastructure in energy, transportation, and water sectors. The ban does not affect previously purchased routers or retailer inventory of already approved models. Critics warn the rule creates supply chain uncertainty and does not address fundamental router security weaknesses exploited in campaigns like Salt Typhoon, which succeeded through vulnerabilities in U.S. and Western products. Action: audit router inventory to identify foreign manufactured devices. Develop replacement plans for foreign routers in sensitive network segments. Implement network segmentation to isolate router management interfaces from general user traffic. Deploy firmware update monitoring and vulnerability scanning for all router equipment regardless of origin. Review router configurations to disable unnecessary services, enforce strong authentication, and log administrative access. Monitor for unusual router behavior including unexpected firmware changes, configuration modifications, or proxy/relay activity. Sources: The Hacker News Cyberscoop. Palo Alto Networks recruiting scam targets. Senior Professionals Unit 42 tracked sophisticated phishing campaigns since August 2025, where attackers impersonate Palo Alto Networks' talent acquisition staff. The scams target senior-level professionals using scraped LinkedIn data for highly personalized lures. Attackers claim the victims resume failed applicant tracking system, ATS, requirements and offer paid executive ATS alignment services, $400 $800. The scam uses flattering language, specific LinkedIn profile details, and legitimate company logos and email signatures to establish credibility. The recruiter manufactures urgency by claiming a review panel has already begun and hands off to a purported expert who can deliver results within hours. Attackers use lookalike domains instead of official at Palo Alto Networks. Com addresses and may include malware in fake ATS diagnostic reports or resume templates. Action: train employees to verify recruiter identities through official company websites or LinkedIn profiles with established histories. Implement a zero payment policy for recruitment processes. Educate staff to request continuation of conversations through official corporate email or applicant portals. Block lookalike domains mimicking Palo Alto Networks careers.com patterns. Warn users to avoid downloading files with names like ATS diagnostic reports from unverified sources. Sources: Unit 42, Palo Alto. Next section: Windows/AD security. Microsoft fixes classic Outlook Gmail sync issues. Microsoft resolved a bug causing Gmail and Yahoo email synchronization problems for classic Outlook users. The issue triggered 0x800CCC0F and 0x80070057 error codes starting February 26, 2026. Affected accounts stopped syncing, and users were not prompted to sign in when synchronization failed. Although Microsoft fixed the issue in the Microsoft 365 service on March 21, some customers may experience sync issues until their OAuth token expires, typically within 1 hour. Customers can force a sign-in prompt by changing their password or deleting registry entries under HKey current user /software /Microsoft /Office /16. 0 /common /identity/identities. Microsoft is also investigating a bug causing can't connect to the server errors when creating groups in classic Outlook with Exchange Web Services enabled, and addressing a mouse pointer disappearing issue in classic Outlook, OneNote, and other Microsoft 365 apps. Action: monitor for user reports of email sync failures with Gmail or Yahoo accounts. If issues persist after the March 21 fix, instruct users to change their password to force OAuth token expiration or use the registry workaround. Document the HKey current user /software /Microsoft /Office /16. 0 /common /identity/identities path for help desk reference. Test classic Outlook functionality in your environment and consider accelerating migration to new Outlook if compatibility issues continue. Sources: Bleeping Computer. Next section: General Security News. Huntress Managed ITDR expands to Google Workspace. Huntress launched Managed Identity Threat Detection and Response for Google Workspace, extending SOC-led identity protection beyond Microsoft 365. The service now protects over 10 million identities with a 3-minute mean time to respond and under 5% false positive rate. Google Workspace has become a high-value target as it functions as root identity infrastructure for cloud environments, enabling password resets, MFA, multi-factor authentication, verification, OAuth permissions, and SaaS platform access. Attackers use business email compromise, phishing through trusted Google services, Drive, Slides, OAuth consent phishing, identity token theft, and workspace subdomain abuse for password resets. In 2025, 79% of all Huntress critical/high incident reports were identity-related rather than endpoint or malware incidents. Modern BEC campaigns unfold as multi-stage identity attacks involving initial access, discovery through mailbox reconnaissance, and stealth tactics like Gmail filter rules to hide security notifications. Sources: Huntress blog. Enterprise PCs lag behind Macs in patching and reliability. Omnis's State of Digital Workspace report found Mac OS devices update 1.5 times faster than Windows hardware, while iOS machines update 8.1 times faster than Android. Industries housing sensitive data lag furthest behind in OS patching, with healthcare, pharmaceutical, and retail organizations among the worst offenders. Windows users experience 3.1 times more forced shutdowns than Mac owners, 2.2 times more app crashes, and 7.5 times more app hangs. While 90% of Windows machines are under 3 years old, only 65% of Macs fall into that category, with 11.5% of Macs remaining in use 6 years after purchase compared to just 2% of Windows machines. Intel processors power 93% of observed PCs, with AMD holding 6% market share. The report noted 36% year-over-year growth in virtual desktops, likely driven by Windows 10 end-of-life and hardware upgrade requirements. Microsoft Edge browser share reached 41% in enterprise environments, just 2 points behind Chrome. Sources: The Register. Manufacturing cybersecurity trends for 2026. Manufacturing accounted for 17% of cyber attacks in 2025, nearly double the 9% reported in 2024. Ransomware operators now target operational technology, OT, systems and uptime rather than just data, recognizing that production downtime creates immediate financial pressure. The convergence of OT, industrial control systems, ICS, industrial control systems, and industrial Internet of Things, IEOT, has eliminated air gaps between corporate networks and shop floors. Remote access for maintenance, IEOT sensors, and cloud-based dashboards provide attack paths from corporate endpoints to manufacturing systems. Threat actors compromise corporate networks through phishing and use credentials to hop into OT environments, potentially reaching manufacturing execution systems, human-machine interfaces, and programmable logic controllers. Zero-trust architectures are expanding to factory floors to prevent breaches in office networks from leading to production shutdowns. Sources: Huntress blog. Next section: Patch priority. Trivy and Checkmark's GitHub actions critical supply chain compromise affecting CI/CD pipelines, credential theft malware deployed via force-push tags. Schneider Electric Plant IT/Brumex readies vulnerabilities. CVE 2025-49844. CVE 2025-46817. Allow authenticated remote code execution via Lua scripts. Apply Pro Lay T 2025-001 patch. Pharaoh's Controls Mosaic Show Controller CVE 2026-2417 allows unauthenticated RCE with root privileges. Upgrade to firmware 2.16 or later. Microsoft LibArchive multiple CVEs including DOS, CVE 2026-4426, and Information Disclosure, CVE 2026-4424, in RAR and ISO processing. Grassroots DICOM, GDCM, CVE 2026-3650 memory leak in DICOM file parsing leads to DOS. No official patch available. Next section: Vulnerability disclosures. Schneider Electric Plant IT/Brumex multiple RIDIS vulnerabilities. Schneider Electric disclosed 4 critical vulnerabilities in Plant IT/Brumex version 9.60 and above affecting energy, critical manufacturing, and commercial facilities sectors. CVE 2025-49844. EPSS, the Exploit Prediction Scoring System, 90th percentile, allows authenticated users to execute specially crafted Lua scripts that manipulate the garbage collector, trigger use after free conditions, and potentially achieve remote code execution. EPSS 94th percentile permits authenticated users to cause integer overflows via Lua scripts leading to RCE, and also present privilege escalation risks. All vulnerabilities affect RIDIS versions 8.2.1 and below used by the platform, and 3 additional CVEs. See show notes for the full list. Action: Install Patch Pro LAT 2025-001 immediately via Pro LAT support. After patching, disable eval commands and RIDIs on application servers, Visu Hub, engineering workstations, and emergency mode workstations. Force usage of secure RIDIs configuration templates in system settings as documented in the patch manual. Restart all patched servers and workstations. Isolate control systems behind firewalls and implement physical access controls. Sources: CISA, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, ICS Advisory. Arrows controls Mosaic Show Controller Unauthenticated RCE. CVE 2026-2417. A missing authentication vulnerability in Pharaoh's Controls Mosaic Show Controller firmware version 2.15.3 allows unauthenticated attackers to bypass authentication and execute arbitrary commands with root privileges. The vulnerability affects commercial facilities worldwide and presents critical risk to lighting control systems used in entertainment venues. Action: upgrade Mosaic Show Controller to firmware version 2.16 or later immediately. Isolate affected controllers behind firewalls until patching is complete. Ensure controllers are not accessible from the internet. Implement VPN requirements for any remote access. Sources: CISA ICS Advisory. Grassroots DICOM, GDCM, Memory Leak Denial of Service. CVE 2026-3650. A memory leak vulnerability in Grassroots DICOM library version 3.2.2 affects healthcare and public health sectors worldwide. The bug occurs when parsing malformed DICOM files with non-standard VR types in file meta information, leading to vast memory allocations and resource depletion. A maliciously crafted file can fill the heap in a single read operation without proper memory release, triggering a denial of service condition. The GDCM maintainer has not responded to CISA requests to address the vulnerability. Action: monitor memory usage on systems processing DICOM files. Implement file validation before parsing DICOM data. Consider input sanitization or rate limiting for DICOM file uploads from untrusted sources. Evaluate alternative DICOM libraries if vendor responsiveness remains poor. Check SourceForge for unofficial patches or forks addressing the issue. Sources: CISA ICS Medical Advisory. Microsoft Security Update Guide CVE, or Common Vulnerabilities and Exposures, disclosures Microsoft published information for multiple CVEs affecting various components. Notable disclosures include CVE 2026-2645, TLS1. 2 Certificate Verify Acceptance Flaw, EPSS 7th percentile, Strong Swan EAPT TLS Integer Underflow, and Certificate Chain and TLS1. 3 Key Validation Issues, libarchive DOS via malformed ISO files, EPSS 30th percentile, libarchive heap out-of-bounds read in RAR processing, EPSS 35th percentile, and multiple libsuit vulnerabilities, affecting digest authentication and WebSocket processing. Additional disclosures cover Wolf SSL vulnerabilities, TAR-RS issues, and Valky DOS, and 17 additional CVEs. See show notes for the full list. Action: review the Microsoft Security Update Guide for detailed remediation steps. Prioritize patching for components with higher EPSS scores and CVEs affecting internet-facing services or critical infrastructure. Focus immediate attention on Strong Swan deployments, CVE 2026-25075, and libarchive implementations processing untrusted files, and 2 additional CVEs. See show notes for the full list. Sources: MSRC Security Update Guide. Next section: Trends and Context. Today's brief highlights a continued shift toward specialization in the ransomware economy, with initial access brokers like Alexei Volkov operating independently from encryption and extortion crews. The Trivy and Checkmark supply chain compromises demonstrate that security tools themselves have become high-value targets, with attackers weaponizing trusted CI/CD infrastructure to harvest credentials at scale. The Railway campaign shows how legitimate platform-as-a-service offerings enable adversaries to spin up attack infrastructure at machine speed with AI-assisted personalization that evades traditional email filtering. The FCC's sweeping router ban reflects growing government concern about supply chain integrity, though critics note that router security weaknesses transcend country of origin, as evidenced by successful exploitation of U.S. and Western products in campaigns like Salt Typhoon. That concludes today's cyber threat brief. From Carolina Clear Tech, stay patched, stay vigilant.